Welcome to a second mini special with myself and Henry Croft. We thought it was only right, seeing so the great popularity of last week's mini podcast with Henry Croft, where he has completely took the reins as most popular host ever. He's had signs named after him. He's had a lot going on. We've had a big week talking him up. We're back in on my kitchen table doing a little mini special again because of the weekend. We wanted to do a little review of it. Henry, it's great to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, got a lot of traction, didn't it? When I got tagged in a post and I saw a sign that said Drogba, Rooney, Ledesma, I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I've made it.
Yeah, all you need is a couple of a couple of throwbacks to the Premier League,
That's it.
and you're in.
Oh, less about hockey and more about football. And then it
Yeah,
was...
we're gonna dive straight into the finals. Um, First question, just straight off the bat, before we get into any results, anything spicy. Did the finals weekend feel like a proper showcase for English hockey? Were you happy with how it felt? It's your first one that you've played in. What did it feel like?
Yeah, it felt pretty special. I think I quite like the fact it was at Surbiton. Because just remembering back to when I was at Lee Valley, it didn't feel as big because it was like it wasn't full, right? Whereas Surbiton, it was absolutely rammed. There was loads of people. Quite cool that the dogs were allowed there as well. Quite like the dogs. It made like a family feel. I really like dogs. No, it was pretty special. The clubhouse has obviously been done up as well, which made things pretty cool. And yeah, no, it was really good.
I'll probably have to agree with you. I guess when you have it at a smaller venue, it always going to feel like make it feel busy. I also thought pretty impressive on Sunday. You know that I think there was over 1,000 tickets sold. They had a live band on. Marquee was up. You know, it was a real nice feel to the place. We had good weather. All of them things kind of making it feel busy, energetic. I actually thought when we played, the crowds were good, pretty into the games. Um, the only thing I would say that would make it that little bit better is like a proper stand, like a
Yeah.
proper little stand would be good. But you know, comparing it to last year, were you at Beeston?
I was. I went to watch, and to be fair, that was also pretty cool. But slightly different being a spectator, and I only came for the final. One thing I would say, which I think because it was at Surbiton, this kind of maybe helps because people live round. Everyone sort of stayed, even not necessarily the people that were Old Jordan supporters or Wimbledon supporters. It felt like, everybody stayed around, was social, whereas maybe at Beeston, because it was on the Sunday, like people were trying to get back, and it wasn't as packed for the final. But yeah, I mean, both events are pretty cool. But yeah, I think you're right. A stand would just tip it over the edge and make it even better.
For sure. And I do also think location is key. I think part of the reason surely they put it Surbiton was that you've got, it's a London based league. As we know, the quality has been in London. So hopefully you're going to attract the supporters to come, you know, not travel too far, come and have a beer and go home on the train or whatever. Um, but yeah, I would start with saying a real positive with it. It did feel like a big occasion. It was good for English hockey. I think it's a good stepping stone to use for coming years, and hopefully they can continue to grow it. Second of all, I guess like the coverage. I did watch some of the games on the live stream. Would say that it's probably got a still bit to go, but I like the fact that there was different camera angles, there was replays, the commentary. Commentary was something to be desired at times. There's a couple of I'd say a couple of good commentators, but a couple of dodgy ones in there.
Yeah, I mean, I did the commentary last year. It's a tough gig. It is a tough gig. Because, if you've never done it before, you've got to try and bring some passion, but also actually think about what you're saying, which can be quite difficult. And then you just sort of blurt stuff out. But to be fair, like the coverage, as you say, was getting a lot better. I think a little bit of work with maybe the different camera angles and making stuff all sort of the same time, but it's in a good spot in terms of it's definitely better than it was last year, and the year before that. So it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I guess let's come on to the actual results. We'll start with the women's review. And start with the fact that I actually managed to get a hard time from Durham, and I've already had to send them an apology, which is fair enough. We didn't big them up enough.
No.
Maybe last week we didn't give any ones to watch. So but again, congratulations on being there. I'll say it now, but um, yeah, I think maybe they used it as a source of motivation, apparently, to try and inspire them to better performances. But yeah, Surbiton came out on top, beating Wimbledon in the final. Um, have you got any key takeaways? Did you watch the? I guess pretty difficult for us because we were prepping to play in the final. But what was your kind of takeaway from any of the women's games?
Yeah, as you say, didn't see much of it just because we weren't really able to. But it did seem like sort of as we sort of predicted. It was pretty tight, but then I think the quality of Surbiton just shone through. It seems like they were very clinical in the right moments. And to be fair, I think they took the support that they had with being at home and they flew with it and got the result. But yeah, they did seem like they play pretty good hockey.
And from our predictions on players to watch, I mean, we've got to talk about Ledesma to start off with. The Hampstead forward obviously got some traction. You were happy with that, but other predictions, I think, were you happy with your predictions? Do you reckon them players managed to perform?
Yeah, I think so. I think both the goalies did very well. Ledesma Best, I don't think she managed to get on the score sheet in the end, which I was gutted about. But we did meet her actually, and she is lovely. So, hi, Catherine, if you're listening. But yeah, no, I think Jess and Aisha both played very well. Managed to get both of their teams to the final. Made some big saves. So yeah, I think we're pretty bob on, Phil. We basically know everything, really.
I mean, we will come on to our predictions. We didn't quite. We did all right. I think we did all
We
right.
did well on the women's side.
We did very well on the women's side. Yeah, I mean, I would say it probably, with the women's side, definitely kind of went with exactly what was predicted. Surbiton went unbeaten in the year. They overcame a plucky Durham side in the semi-final. Hampstead and Wimbledon playing out a tight affair. For it to be, the big Wimbledon versus Surbiton, the matchup that I think people wanted. It was a bit of a derby. There's a hell of a lot of GB players in them teams. What would you say people have got to do to knock Surbiton off their perch? Because I spoke to Giselle Ansley, who has actually won 10 titles for
Is that
Surbiton,
right?
which is just insane. Since I think joining in 2013 or 14. So I mean, they absolutely have a hold on this title. Um, is there anything you think that other teams could be doing, or because Wimbledon have a hell of a lot of quality?
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's obviously very difficult. 10 titles, is that in 13 years? That is mental. Wow. Yeah, I think like anything, you've got to try and look at what's happened before and create a different tactical plan. I think if you look at the men's side, that's what they did, the Wimbledon men did very well. They saw what happened in the league, maybe what happened in previous years, and created a plan to combat that. And I think that's the only way you can really go about it because they're clearly a very dominant side with some very good players. Um, yeah, 10 in 13 years. That's like that's MJ stuff. Like, wow. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice segue into the men's side where me and Croft can sit here quite smug because we managed to. I mean, Croft in his first year managed to win the title. I've finally waited 10 years since my last Premier League title and managed to.
Really?
It was 10 years ago, won in
Wow.
2015 and 2016 with Wimbledon, and had a nice 10-year wait. But
Wow.
yeah, Croft just said he was 15, making me feel real depressed. But like the segue is that Surbiton won, I think, 19 wins out of 19 games going into that side. I mean, me and Crofty last week didn't give Wimbledon a chance. They'd had a ridiculous, very hard time against Surbiton in the previous, I think, two or three times they played them throughout the year, but managed to kind of pull out, I would say, a bit of a tactical masterclass. Um, with managing to win 4-2 in the end. They were 4-1 up for a long periods of the game. Um, did you manage to watch that game, and what was your takeaways?
Yeah, I watched. I think I watched the first half, and I think in the second half we weren't quite there. But I watched a little bit of it back. I think, to be fair, first of all, credit to them for that season. That was unbelievable, going unbeaten. But I think it's just like anything in them tight games. I think Wimbledon just scored at the right time. Um, I think when they got that stroke after literally 30 seconds, I thought, oh gosh, this could be a long day for them. But fair play, they stuck to their plan. They kept it really tight, and then they sort of launched an aerial assault on them. To be completely honest, and yeah, they got it done. They got goals at the right time, and then I think Surbiton were pretty unlucky with, where the ball fell in them tight moments. They had a lot of ball, but yeah, I mean, fair play to them getting over the line, and I think, as we say, it's good for the game, to get shock results. It's why you watch, and yeah, the underdog came through.
Yeah, and like you said, I think it was something that Carl Stagno maybe doesn't get enough credit for in how he sets them up, but then also the credit also has to go to the players for executing the plan. I know that Toby Reynolds Cottrell had a big weekend in goal, but also like you already talked about, Super Hooper who can
Mm.
flick the ball very hard. They didn't give Surbiton maybe a chance to play their style, which is I guess exactly how you would want to beat
Mm.
Surbiton. Um, if we move on to the other semi-final, it was OGs versus Hampstead. Was, I would say, a pretty decent game, pretty solid performance from us. I would say professional would be the right way to put it.
Yeah.
Winning 3-1 in the end. Um, any particular highlights from that game?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few interesting moments. Um, Wardy did the old double back stick pass, and two wrongs do in fact make a right. And then Jimmy put it in. Who knows if it was back stick? Some people say it is, some people say it isn't.
It's on a it's now on a slow mo because we should have called them out actually. To be fair, the people, the
Hockey captured, but
hockey captured,
yeah.
hockey focus, a lot of really good photographers doing some slow mos, doing some great film all weekend, which is actually huge for it because I think like we haven't really had this in a Premier League finals weekend where you really get the quality
Yeah.
that these guys with the cameras can show. And one of the best bits is the Wardy running full pelt, hitting two like double back sticking for us to score. I think our third goal in that Hampstead game,
Yeah.
which with Hampstead going absolutely mental because we all knew. I think that was a back stick.
Pretty tough.
Was that the game you got your card in?
Yeah.
It was. Croft. I mean, just to bring in a little bit of fun, was that um, Liam Sanford is known to deliver strong feedback when he is unhappy, and he tends to be unhappy quite a lot of the time. But in particular for silly, unforced cards, and Crofty decided to try and take on a player, kick it without really um, going at the player, and then hit the ball away, which resulted in a green card. I was stood in the middle of the pitch at the time and just saw Sanford creeping up the pitch just so he can scream at Crofty.
Oh.
What?
I've tried a little cut inside, just booted it, and then I don't know why I've just like nipped the ball away from this lad, and then I've gone, oh no! I've turned around, I've seen Monga just reaching into his pocket, and I was like, oh my god, no, 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 no! And then I've run off. I've seen David, and David's just sort of shook his head. David Ames, sorry, he's just shook his head and gone, oh, Crofty, and I'm like, sorry, David. And then I can sense Sandy coming, so I'm like running, head down. Please don't look at me, Liam. I think you saved me by sort of running over and going, Liam, it's okay, it's okay. And then at half time, I was just like, come on, lads, tear me apart. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But thankfully, I think you calmed him down by that point, so I didn't get my every game spray from Liam.
Yeah, a small part of the maybe the stuff that you don't see as much maybe on the stream or even in the crowd is probably the chat that's going on between players, between the umpires. On to the final, like obviously we yeah, we were ready for Surbiton, but it was a surprise package to have Wimbledon. And this season we drew with them twice, and we beat them once. We knew that it wasn't going to be an easy game because of the quality of hockey they were playing, but we managed to come out 3-2 on top after going 2-0 down, with Henry Croft scoring the winning goal. If you were to ask where the goals would have come from, Wimbledon are known to score corners and they scored two open play goals. We're known to score open play goals and we scored three corners. So, what was your takeaway from that game?
Yeah, I think when we realised we were playing Wimbledon, I think like part of us was like, okay, like maybe that's better, possibly. But then I think a lot of us were actually thinking there was a lot on this game anyway, obviously. But now it's gone from being either KO8 and KO12 to KO8 and KO16, which for those don't know, you either go straight to KO8, which is at Easter, or potentially if you we lost that game, so Wimbledon will have to go to where it was last year in October in round one, right? So it's an extra sort of round you'd have to get through. So there was an extra layer of sort of pressure, I suppose. And there's also the fact that obviously we've just seen Stagno pull off a little bit of a tactical masterclass against Surbiton, so we knew he'd have a plan against us. But yeah, then they went 2 goals up pretty quickly, and we all sort of thought, okay. But then, as you say, we stuck in. Henry Weir did a great little reverse deflection off the corner, and then I think the momentum just carried us through. And yeah, it was nice to get that moment at the end.
Talk us through the moment. Come on. He's got I think people are really loving this retro, old school straight strike from the top of the D. Um, when someone can hit it as hard as you can, it's pretty terrifying for anyone in the PCD. But like, are you do you just love whacking the ball as hard as possible? And when that call comes, how happy are you? Actually, no, I'll tell a story first of all. I got called a flick in the semi-final, I think, I don't know where the semi-final or final, and it got run down. It's a reward. Croft's just literally in my ear a split second afterwards being like, can I hit it? Can I hit it? Can I hit it? Can I hit it? And I was like, Crofty, calm yourself down a bit. I'm not making the calls. But yeah, I mean, the goal is an unbelievable strike. How happy are you to get called the straight strike? It's coming back. You've scored multiple now. It's a good feeling.
Oh, as soon as this call gets called, I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm so excited. And I think in that final, I was pretty wired anyway. Like in the warm up, I was striping it. So I thought, oh, good things are going to happen. And then I think it was in the first half. So yours got ran down. I was like, here we go. Give me it, give me it, give me it. And then I think I laced it into his shin pad and I thought, okay, fine. It's not gone in, but I have it that well. Like the next one, it's going to go in. And then I don't know, I think Aubrey just came over and he looked at me and thought, yeah, pork, here we go. And then I just touched it, I laced it, saw TRC deflected it into the goal, and I just lost it. It was fantastic.
And well, I mean, what do you think this means for the next season? I've got to like ask a bigger picture. You know, we could bask in our glory a little bit. And oh, sorry, I will do very quickly a couple of shout outs to Dan Shingles and David Ames, two people who've hung up the stick for with club hockey. First of all, Dan Shingles, like an incredible servant of the game. He's played internationally. He's played league hockey for Southgate Reading. OG's won, I want to say 5 or 6 titles. Um, yeah, he's been an incredible player and someone that definitely deserves his plaudits. David Ames obviously speaks for itself. We spoke way too much on this podcast about Amesy, but like, what a way to finish it off. What a way to finish your career with a win. And he hasn't scored a goal in 10 years, and he managed to score in the final, which is just an amazing way to go out. Um, yeah, on to the coming season. Obviously, Surbiton, you know, they can't be looking at themselves thinking they did too much wrong, but it makes it very interesting for next year, no?
Yeah, just quickly on Shingles and Amesy, that was also a pretty cool moment for me, like being able to share that with them because I looked up to both of them, as a kid. But Amesy especially, he actually coached me when I was 10 till about 13. He said I was a nightmare. I don't believe him, but it was quite cool to yeah win his final title and send him off into the sunset. Having known him and looked up to him all my life, sort of thing. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, Surbiton. I mean, to be fair, I heard a few of the guys speaking at Bisham, and I think they're feeling still pretty good. I think they're not, just going to lose their heads after losing one game because that's all it was. I think they've been saying they're in a very good space. They've got a very good team, very good young team, and I think they'll just go again, and they'll be very difficult again to look past next year.
And a couple of, I guess let's do a mini awards segment.
Okay.
Right. So who was like, let's do a women's player and a men's player of the weekend. Do you want to, I'm gonna give this to you because it's a nice thing.
Yeah, women's player of the finals. I think I'm gonna have to go with Darcy Bourne. She scored in the semi-final and in the final. Big fan of goal scorers. She played very well all season. I think she actually finished Prem top goal scorer. So I think I'm gonna give that one to her. And then men's player of the finals. Oh, I feel like it's a bit of a toss-up between Maz and the Olbs. They both played really well. Um, I'm gonna give it to Maz, man, just because he's my dad's favorite player. At the end of the game, my dad gave me a hug and very quickly ran away and got a picture with Mazzarello. So I think me and my dad are going to award James Mazzarello Player of the Finals.
I'll go for the goal of the weekend, just in general. I'm going to give it to, I think, Maddie Axford. She scored a lovely reverse stick goal. And again, like we have to just go with our bias, don't we? You love goal scorers. I love people who score on the reverse stick.
Yeah.
She scored a lovely reverse stick. I think it was against Durham in the semi-final. Um, yeah, we could do biggest surprise, but I think we know what the biggest surprise was. We've already done it that semi-final. The bit we've already done biggest what are they doing moment was you booting the ball away.
Horror. Absolutely horror.
Is there anything else you want to touch on from the finals?
Yeah, no, I think final thing really is just like I feel like it is growing. I feel like that finals. I mean, again, I was there at Beeston. It was a great feel, but I feel like this was another level compared to what I experienced. Maybe it's because of it. I was a player this time, but also another massive thanks to all the guys that were behind the camera. The hockey focused guys, Taggy. Um, they did some great stuff. Loads of cool photos, cool clips. I think there's actually a TikTok account that filmed a lot of it. I think it's called like UK Hockey or something like that. Apologies if I've not got that right, but that was really cool. They filmed loads of the goals, loads of the clips, and I think it's all good and going in the right direction to grow the game, but also grow it in England. So yeah, I'd say that was pretty cool.
Actually an excellent wrap up. To be honest with you, I don't feel the need to say anything else. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, Crofty, for joining again. Hopefully we'll get you on again with Yoop and see if we can cause some carnage there. But yeah, this has been a mini review of of the England Hockey Finals. We will see you next time in a bit.
Bye.